This really doesn't have anything to do with what I was planning to talk about with this video, but I figured, hell, we might as well just make a good news sandwich, or good news Oreo, whatever you want to call it. Lisa Murkowski is fucking on the outs, okay? Because the Alaska GOP censures Lisa Murkowski. Fucking finally, okay? She is going to get primaried. Hopefully it's by Sarah Palin, so we never have to see that blockheaded bitch ever again. And this really does come out of nowhere because, okay, everybody was getting censured not long after the acquittal from the impeachment happened. So for this to happen March 15th, it just kind of seems like it comes out of left field. The Alaskan Republican Party passed a formal resolution to censure targeting Lisa Murkowski on Saturday, vowing to recruit and support a primary challenger to replace the Liberal senator. It's big league politics. What did you expect? Murkowski voted in support to show impeachment trial, targeting former President Donald Trump in February, the culmination of years of left-wing and pro-democratic votes. There's a number of issues that the party has had with Senator Murkowski for the last several years, which really culminated in the conviction vote of former President Donald Trump, said Chris Warren, the author of the resolution. Murkowski has also voted against the confirmation of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh and several other slimy rhino shit. She's repeatedly spoken out against President Trump over the years, in spite of all the great accomplishments he has helped to the country and certainly helped Alaska. Oh yeah, definitely, because that Keystone XL pipeline is definitely, the cancellation of that is one of the big things that is really going to hurt Alaska. You know what? It wasn't going to go up to Alaska, but energy production, oil, gas, drilling, fracking, all of that shit is a huge reason Alaska is as profitable as it is. And her even just tacit support of the left, she can call it bipartisanship. I'll just go ahead and call it traitorous activity. Just sealed the end to it, okay? Her entire political career up to this point has been a tale in successful subversion. She ran as an independent, then she got the support of the Republican Party, and then she's in turn sided with the McConnell wing, but also hasn't had the best intentions of the party front of mind because she, at heart, is always a Democrat, just running in a very deep red state, just hoping nobody will notice the fact that she's a neo-lib right to her fucking core. So couldn't happen to a nicer person. Fuck off, bitch. See you down the road. Get your safety tickets and hopefully you can find yourself on a fucking rig someday. California Governor Gavin Newsom blames anti-vaxxers and anti-maskers for recall campaign. There was a reason I left Gavin Newsom off of my previous video where we highlighted Whitmer and Cuomo. Mostly because this dude right here is going to be recalled, okay? And there's going to be a worthless attempt to try to replace him. Mostly because, yeah, people who have come up to, I guess, run against them, listen, he's still going to have to face re-election in 2022, which is going to be another big ask. So, the best person to come out is probably, I guess, like a Tulsi Gabbard type person, a actual centrist Democrat. Okay, there are some people out there, oh, Tulsi Gabbard's super against guns. Yeah, but she's really on the level for a bunch of stuff. And when you're dealing with replacing a governor from California, that's a big fucking step in the right direction, okay? You can pretty much deal with a lot of things, even though there is one big glaring issue there with that person. But it's going to take a centrist Democrat in order to unseat Gavin Newsom, because there's no way and fuck anybody with an R at the end of their name is going to win a recall election, let alone a general election. General election, it might be a little bit more of an easier path, and a recall election, just snap at the moment, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but I'm glad nearly 2 million people have signed this, and I guess, yeah, it goes to show you the amount of effort that is going to be tried, at least by Gavin Newsom himself, because federal support is going to be few and far between, and as you can see, just like with what Cuomo's going through right now, no federal support, because when it comes to challengers for 2024, head of the Democratic ticket, you guys remember that barren wasteland of absolute zeros, old motherfuckers that are completely over the hill that are very much going to be Elizabeth Warren. I'm staring right at you, even through the smoke screen. I can see that fucking forehead is filled with a lot of wrinkles. Ain't no headdress in the world going to be able to save you from the fact that you're going to be the wrong side of 80 by the time 2024 rolls around. And don't even hit me with the Bernie Sanders fucking, that old cocksucker might be fucking dead by that point. His old picker ain't gonna survive a trip to Moscow to get somebody's secondhand valve that they retrieved from some poor soul from the gulags to replace your bum aorta. But who else was on there? Who else? Julian Castro? Don't make me laugh. Andrew Yang? No, he's still going to be mayor of, I guess, New York, because there's no such thing as too much punishment for the city of New York. Tulsi? No, she fucked off back to Hawaii, and thankfully, hopefully she finds her way to the Trump side of things, and a man can hope. So no, it's going to be probably the 47th president of the United States, Kamala Harris. Here's my prediction. I've always thought Joe Biden's probably going to end up being a one-term president. Okay, he's going to go the entire time. But even still, even if he does decide to step down, or if his mental faculties are going to betray him even further, they'll keep him safe. They'll keep him Ruth Bader Ginsburg up in the closet for at least 2 years, get past the midterms, so that they can try once again to try to install another astroturfed president for at best 10 years. I don't think so. This right here has all the hallmarks of the old Daffy Duck skit. You guys remember the one where he ate all the dynamite and he said, "Pay attention, we can only do the trick once," because they fucking blew their load this time. And because there's no support from the DNC at large, and Gavin Newsom was one of their fucking bright, shining stars. You know, if Joe Biden couldn't make it being carried across the finish line in 2020, Newsom was going to be there, Cuomo was going to be there. But who's been setting up their Democratic Party the entire time with their loyalists, taking out the people and letting the pressure mount to the point where a recall for Newsom is a real thing? An impeachment might be coming down the pike for Cuomo. That would be Kamala Harris. I think that she is front and center when it comes to this stuff. She's trying super goddamn hard to purge that party of anybody who could possibly challenge the queen, because she thinks that, I don't know, maybe it's her birthright. I really don't know her end game at this point, because she is about as popular as sudden infant death syndrome. The numbers bear that out. That's just not my opinion. That is the population at large. Remember, she bowed out of the race early in 2020 in the primary. Rather, I didn't even think that she made it to 2020. No, she did. She was on those debate stages. She was nearly in the front row. She was so far off to the side. But what's going to happen is she's going to take out probably 2 or 3 cycles worth of top candidates for the Democrats, leave them with a desolate field, just like the destruction that was brought by W. Bush at the end of his term. In 2008, Republicans were dead in the water after running also-rans like John McCain. Like, for fuck's sakes, was he your best and brightest? Cocksucker couldn't even do a fucking jumping jack, let alone lead the country. That's why he got his ass blown out by an underqualified fucking token hire. But I'm not saying that as a bad thing, because I would love to see the Democrats reform just like the Republicans did. They grew up from the ashes of McCain and Romney and blossomed back into a viable party. I think that that's possible. Hell, I'll even cheer this on. Go right for it, Kamala. And cut them out at their knees. Because for you to advance up the political ladder, you knew a lot about the importance of good set of knees. But that's my preamble out of the way. The recount effort is going to be going under a significant amount of scrutiny, because there are no measures that are too important for a Democrat, well, an election when it comes to a Democrat, to cast off to the side. There is not enough provisions to let people know that these are safe and secure elections. So what'll Newsom do? Oh, he'll slander 5% of the population, because there are, just about 2 million people who signed this recall effort as, anti-vaxxers, anti-maskers, extremists. They're pathetic. Why? Because I want to hold you accountable, and nobody else in Washington is going to help you out on this one. Let's take a look. Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom is blaming anti-mask and anti-vax extremists for the ongoing effort to force a recall election against him in the state. And I want you to take a look at the names that they're listing as people who are contributing to fight against this unjust recall effort. California Democrats announce a $250,000 contribution to fighting the recall. It lists Elizabeth Warren, who's going to be too old in 2024 to really matter. Bernie Sanders, an exact same thing. Carlos Padilla, the guy who got put into place to replace Kamala Harris's open spot in the Senate, who would have to at least pay lip service. It's not said how much of that $250,000 he's putting up, so he's got to at least thank him for putting him in there for the time being. And Representative Porter and many as allies. So yeah, old people that aren't going to matter if he gets recalled or if he loses the general election in 2022. Really gets the old noggin jogging now, doesn't it? And let's just call this what it is. It's a partisan Republican recall. If it was actually partisan and if they got all of the Republicans in California together, it wouldn't make a goddamn dent in anything. So guess what? You fucked up really bad, Newsom. Backed by the RNC anti-mask and anti-vax extremists and pro-Trump forces that want to overturn the last election and have opposed much of what we have done to fight the pandemic. You've done a shitty fucking job, moron. Okay? There's no two ways around it. You've locked down the state tighter than any other state in the entire union. It's been going on forever, and it hasn't done a goddamn thing other than tank your economy. Remember when California was once the 5th largest economy in the world? Not under you, dumbass. Newsom said in an email sent out to his supporters. He further described the recall campaign as a far-right Republican recall effort. The petition to recall Newsom requires 2 million signatures before it can move forward, a milestone which the recall campaign says it has reached. However, most recall petitions seek a large number of extra signatures in case the signatures are fake or have invalid information. The deadline for submitting the petition is this very Thursday. I thought it was 1.7 million that they needed, so what the hell? They just bumped it up all of a sudden? That's weird. But they've already got that, and they're going to be going through a very intense scrutiny of those signatures and those mail-in, or they weren't even mail-in ballots, of those signatures. So it's weird, right? When it's a Democrat that's in question, they won't hesitate to pull out all the stops, just like Nancy Pelosi. House could unseat Iowa Republican who narrowly won the race. Well, I thought elections were final. How could you do that? I don't get it. Speaker Nancy Pelosi said the House could ultimately vote to unseat Representative Mariannette Miller Meeks, who won Iowa's 2nd congressional district seat by just 6 votes out of more than 394,000 cast. Why would you do that? Huh? Pelosi told reporters that the Democratic-led House Administrations Committee is following the law. Oh, really? In its review of the election, and it could ultimately result in a move to force out the first-term Iowa Republican. Now, why are you doing that? Huh? Sure, it's a close vote. It's been through several recounts, and that 6-vote lead has been reaffirmed several times over. But it's a Republican who won. So why are you pulling out all the stops for this? That's really gets the noggin jogging now, doesn't it? We will see where that takes us, but there could be a scenario to that extent. Pelosi said Democratic candidate Rita Hart has contested her narrow loss to Miller Meeks, leaving the House Administrations Committee to decide her case. Hart believes 22 ballots were wrongfully discarded. Oh, really? And they were counted. Oh, and if they were counted, she could have a 9-vote victory. House administration Republicans want Democrats to dismiss Hart's case, but the committee voted Wednesday to table a motion to dismiss Hart's claim. Democrats control a very narrow majority of just a handful of seats, 10, right? 11. So the Miller Meeks seat is critical. Yep, because they need all the power they can get for the next 2 years because they know that their fucking time is up. Those days are numbered. They wasted all of their goodwill for the first 2 years with the majority in the House on worthless, retarded impeachment attempts on Trump. And now they're just trying to cram through all of their gun control legislation and all of their election reform. Every single radical idea that they'll try. Oh, they'll try to get DC to be a state. They'll try to get Puerto Rico, Guam. They'll try to give everybody statehood because they know that they have a very limited amount of time and nothing is off the table. Because just like what I'm thinking Kamala is doing right now, they understand that the jig is totally up. All of these people have achieved the levels of power that they've once only dreamed of, and they don't want anybody else to, and they will hold on to that if that means tearing down the rest of the party. Schumer, Pelosi, Biden, Kamala, they don't give a shit. They just want themselves to be in power, but they understand that Father Time is also undefeated. Nancy Pelosi is 80. Chuck Schumer looks like he's about 308, but he's the wrong side of 70 as well. And they look at their field, they look at their colleagues, and they realize that there is not a stud among them. Nobody is left in that fucking party to come in and assume any type of leadership. It's going to take an outsider. It's going to take somebody who has charisma, somebody who has leadership characteristics, because they've gutted their party of anybody who has dissenting opinions. If you think that the squad is anywhere different, remember who voted for Nancy Pelosi to maintain Speaker of the House, even though she lost 25 seats in the House. AOC, Omar, Tlaib, Bush, Presley. They're just going about it a different way. They would not hesitate to put anybody's head in that guillotine. I think that their jig is up. They absolutely knew they could only pull this off once. They hated Orange Man so much that they just had to get rid of him, employing everybody they possibly could from both sides of the aisle. Yes, we've been talking exclusively about the direction of the Democratic Party, but how about recruiting from the other side? You guys remember Brad Raffensperger, don't you? Secretary of State in Georgia, the lying motherfucker who leaked that tape to the Washington Post. Well, guess what? 2 months afterwards, the piper came to collect. Washington Post blames source for falsified Trump comments on Georgia election. Yup. Good thing Georgia already passed through all of their election reforms, and the Democrats were screeching about it, but nobody brought it up in the fucking media. So unless you were listening to me and a couple other people like myself, you wouldn't have known anything about that. And this also is getting covered up like it's a prom night abortion. The Washington Post, in its recent correction, revealed it printed falsified quotes attributed to former President Donald Trump. My shock and horror at coming across this. A recording of Trump's December 2020 phone call with an investigator working for Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger's office, was recently released. It is embedded below. In a March 11 update to the original story originally published in January about the call, the paper acknowledges its story featured quotes that weren't actually uttered during the conversation. You guys have seen the paywall that the Washington Post puts up. I'd provide the source information, but of course they put the big stupid, sign up here to fund our horse shit, to allow our propaganda to spread further. I would rather shit in my hands and clap than ever give $1 to the Washington Post. So, at least the fine folks at the Epoch Times have provided the important information. The recording revealed that the Post misquoted Trump's comments on the call based on information provided by a source. Trump did not tell the investigator to find the fraud or say she was to be a national hero if she did so. The Jeff Bezos-owned paper, known for its severe anti-Trump slant. But sometimes it can be Republican. No, it can't. It sucks. It's always sucked. It's even questionable about what they did to crazy fucking Nixon. The headline in the text of the story has been corrected to remove quotes misattributed to Trump. No apology was included because the damage has already been done. The Washington Post reported on the substance of Trump's December 23rd call in January, describing him, saying that Watson should find the fraud and that she would be a national hero based on the account of Jordan Fox, the Secretary of State, the Deputy Secretary of State, whom Watson briefed on his comments. Gardner wrote, referring to Francis Watson, the chief investigator for Raffensperger. The fact he did not use those precise words. No shit. Rather, Trump urged the investigator to scrutinize Fulton County, where she would find dishonesty, he said. He also said, whatever you can do, Francis, it's a great thing. It's an important thing for the country. So important, you have no idea. So important, and I very much appreciate it. Yup, and the transcript is still online. And my video covering all of the phone call in detail after the full thing was released is still up on Rumble. YouTube took it down, but funnily enough, the little 11-minute clip that was up there first before the entire clip was up, that's still on YouTube, and I was just deducing what we're finding out here today. Meanwhile, the much longer clip is still up on Rumble. It's about, I think, an hour long. It's very good work, if I may say so myself. But I was fair. I was honest with everybody. But it's funny that they cite the Washington Post as being a Jeff Bezos-owned corporation. Well, what is Jeff Bezos more known for? Amazon. YouTube takes down clips, okay? Who did all of the suppressing on several other high-profile scandals during the election as well? Twitter. Who's not covering this right now, even though it should be a big fucking deal? Twitter, it's nowhere on there because that place has become a desolate wasteland of rainbow-coiffed morons with their gender studies degrees, which is just a very roundabout way to getting a green smock so you can serve overpriced lattes to Karens who don't give a fuck. This does not dishearten me in the bit. pisses me off a little bit, but I think it makes for interesting content. What I'm seeing right here is that one by one, the threads start getting pulled, and the cheaply made Chinese clothing that is all over this Biden administration is coming apart. They're going to get their asses kicked in 2022, and then in 2024, it's going to be a fucking blowout. Because I also made, when we were covering the 1-year anniversary of the pandemic, I said that Joe Biden in that speech sounded an awful lot like Jimmy Carter. I drew analogies to increased gas prices, all of the fear that was surrounding the country, creating a paper tiger with the military. But I will do one more analogy to Jimmy Carter, at least for the time being. I may cite another blowout election as well, the 1984 election, the one that Ronald Reagan won 49 states against the Democratic challenger. And who was that? Well, that was the vice president for Jimmy Carter, Walter Mondale. And who is more than likely going to be the Democratic nominee in 2024 by her own goddamn design? Well, that would be Jimmy Carter 2.0's vice president. It's funny, history doesn't always repeat itself, but it sure as fuck does rhyme. Thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.